Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online character build PvP video for you guys. This is a special request build by Headless Horseman, I believe is his name, and yeah, you're finally getting your video, there you go. But this is the Breton Hero PvP build. So he's really been bugging me about this and wanting this really bad, and so I figured I'd go ahead and get it done and out of the way so I can work on some other stuff that I need to get done. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not going to go through the whole, disclaimer thing. If you guys want me to, yeah, I may as well. So disclaimer, this is a roleplay casual play build. It is not meant for meta play. This is made for PvP play as a roleplay casual player. Moving on. Everyone knows who the Breton Hero is. He's the one from the cinematic trailers. He's an amazing, yeah, he's badass. Alright, so now, moving on to here, as you can see it says PvP. That means it is a PvP build, guys. So we have 64 points in the stamina. This gives us, and we are a Breton Necromancer. This gives us 28k stamina, 27k health while we're in Cyrodiil in CP levels. If you are in no CP, your stats will be much lower. 20k magicka. We do have a 750 magic recovery, 1047 stam recovery, which isn't too bad. We do have a decent amount of spell damage and weapon damage with crit as well. And our resistances are a little bit low. Our crit resist is 2346. We are a light armor build, or medium armor build for this, so just letting you know. We do have Battle Spirit, which increases our health by 5,000. Damage taken, healing received, and damage shield strength is decreased by 50%. And your ability range of 28 meters or more is increased by 8. We do have Minor Berserk because of Slime Craw. We are using the Thief Mundustone. Now, if you don't want to use the Thief Mundustone, you can use the Lover Mundustone if you want higher penetration values against your enemies. Primary stat, tri-stat food, and then going over to equipment. I do have the Great Sword. As you can see, it's in my inventory. You can use it if you want to. I prefer using Dual Will in PvP, and I'll get to why here in a minute. Of course, same drinks, potions, food, all that stuff. And we're going to go over the sets really quick. So starting with the monster set, we are using Slime Craw. It is still invigorating on the helm. This way we get that higher health magicka stam recovery. And the same thing with the leggings is invigorating. We also have tri-stats on these two pieces to maximize our recovery income. We are also wearing Night Mother's Gaze. I'm not going to go over what these sets do. I'm just going to tell you where we have traits and enchants and all that. So on the big pieces, we do have tri-stats to maximize our survivability and our ability to play hybridize. So we have max health, magic, and stamina on all three of these. And then on the smaller pieces, we are running in-pin armor with max stamina. This will give you a high amount of damage mitigation while you're in PvP because it increases your crit resist, and the damage, the durability of it is 50% more. It takes 50% less durability damage, so it's actually 50% stronger in durability in how much damage you can take before it breaks. But all the smaller pieces are max stam. And then again, like I said, invigorating, reinforced on the chest. It is a heavy chest crafted, and it is Night Mother's Gaze, so you guys can figure that out. And we have the Night Mothers on the all 5 of these pieces. Slime Craw on the head and shoulders, and then on the jewelry we are running Caloran's Legacy. And since somebody asked me to do this in the videos, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys where Caloran's drops. It drops in Fang Lair. It is a difficult set to get if you're doing it on normal mode. It's not too bad. If you're doing it on veteran, it can be really, really difficult. Get the weapons on normal and get the jewelry on veteran, but you can get it on normal and then upgrade it yourself, or you can go in and take the blue jewelry and just go in on vet and try and get it that way. Now going over the jewelry, we do have 2 Tri-Rune rings with weapon damage enchants, and then the final one is infused stam recovery. This is so we can maximize our stam recovery. We're not too concerned about mag recovery, even though we do go through a lot of magicka, but we also get a lot of resources back from other things, so it works out. On the dual wield, we are using a sharpened main hand with a disease damage enchant. Offhand is going to be Nirnhoned with a absorb stamina enchant. back bar, we're going to be using infused weapon spell damage enchant. And this is basically so we can maximize our character's damage potential. Alright, now I'm going to go over the skills really quick. Take the skills that best reflect your ability to play this character how you want. I take preferably more Magicka-based ones, except for the Skeletal Archer. I do like using that. And then on all of them, I do take all pretty much Magicka-based stuff. But I take the skills that best reflect my ability to play this character. So make sure you take all the active and passive abilities. When it comes to weapon skills, we do have two-handed completely unlocked, along with its passives. Same thing with dual wield and bow. The reason for this is so we can use different skills, different abilities in different situations. Armor, we are a medium armor build, but we still take advantage of the first three of the light armor passives. Same thing with medium armor, we take advantage of all the passives here. And then heavy armor, we take advantage of the top three. World skills, soul magic, same thing, guys, as before. We take the ones, like these are, top three are optional here. The other two, your choice. Fighters, Mage's Guild, Psijic Order, and Undaunted. We take all the active abilities, ultimates, and passives for each one. This way we can use these skills in different situations depending on our need and our group dynamic in PvP or PvE, or what role we want to play. Fighters Guild as well. And then moving on to Alliance War. I didn't do this, but you can unlock all the Alliance War skills if you want for while you're playing PvP, so you can use these skills. Now, same thing with the support stuff. Racial, Breton is the race, which gives us Gift of Magnus, which increases Magicka by 2,000. Spell Atonement, which increases our spell resist, which doubles when we get afflicted with Burning, Chilled, or Concussed. We also get higher mag recovery by 100, and we get Magicka Mastery, which reduces the cost of our magic abilities by 7%. Crafting, Alchemy, and medicinal use in there, and then Provisioning, Gourmet, and Connoisseur. Your choices on if you want to take these, all of these, if you want things. When it comes to the skills on the bar, I do use a different setup for when I'm playing PvP. I use Rending Slashes for when I'm doing physical damage. Basically, it does a lot of damage up front, a lot of damage over time. I use Ricochet Skull. This is a pretty powerful ability. It shoots a flaming skull that does X amount of damage, and every third cast of this ability deals 20% more damage, and it'll bounce up to two nearby enemies. Next ability we use is Still Tornado. This thing just does a flurry of blades and damage. It's really wicked. It works really good in PvP too, especially when you got a group of enemies on you. Our next ability is Stalking Blast Bones. This one, you summon a skeleton, and after 2.5 seconds, it'll take off after your enemy. When it gets near them, it'll explode, dealing flame damage to all nearby enemies in a 6-meter radius. And every second the skeleton spins chasing the target, the damage it can do increases by 10% to a maximum of 50%. Next ability we have is called Resolving Vigor. This is our primary heal. Now remember, your heals are reduced here, so it's not going to be look like much, but it actually does end up being quite a bit of healing that you can do for yourself with this ability. Next ability we have is Flawless Dawnbreaker. This does X amount of damage up front, X amount of damage over 6 seconds, and it also increases your weapon damage by 5%. Moving on to the back bar, we have our bow. And on our bow, we have the Venom Arrow as our first ability. This one is really good. It does damage up front, damage over 10 seconds. But if you hit an enemy that is casting an ability, this is whether they're physical or stamina or magic ability, you can interrupt them, set them off balance, and stun them for 3 seconds. Next ability we have is Endless Hail, and you don't have to use this ability. This is just a suggestion. I actually prefer, when I'm playing PvP, using Acid Spray here, because I can hit multiple targets, and it will do X amount of damage up front and X amount of damage over 4 seconds. I also like Unnerving Boneyard, getting people close to me, dropping this. This will put Major Breach and Major Fracture on them, which means they take more damage. But it also does frost damage over 10 seconds, so it's really good for that. Next ability we have is called Empowering Grasp. When we activate this, it'll apply Minor Maim to all enemies for 5 seconds and reduce their movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. But the Minor Maim reduces their damage done by 15%. Hitting you or allies grants you Empower for 5 seconds, increasing the damage of your next line attack by 40%. Hitting a skeletal, mage, or spirit mender enhances them by 5 seconds, increasing their effectiveness by 40%. So you can also, instead of using this here, another nice one that I like to, I personally have tried this and tested this, but using the skeletal archer is really nice because you can hit them with that empower and it'll buff their damage, which is really good. And now this thing does do physical damage, but each time it strikes, its next attack will do 10% more, and it can attack every 2 seconds for 16 seconds, so it gets 8 attacks. Our last ability here is Beckoning Armor. Now this one, you buff yourself up with Major Ward, Major Resolve, giving you spell and physical resist of 5,000 turn 80 for 20 seconds. While active, enemies that strike you from afar will be pulled to you every 3 seconds. So it doesn't matter who they are, they're going to come to you. As long as they're doing damage from range, and that's every 3 seconds. The next one is Ravenous Goliath. Now this is really cool. I love this ability. Basically, you turn into a giant bone Goliath. You gain 30,000 more health for 20 seconds and immediately restore 30,000 health. While transformed, your light attacks restore X amount of health, your heavy attacks restore X amount of health, and you deal damage in an AoE circle around you. While you're in this form, you can use all of your active abilities. So it's actually really cool. Going on to CP, and CP is set up differently because we are set up for PvP. So starting with the red tree, we have 40 into Ironclad. This reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks by 16%. We have 55 into Resistance, increasing our critical resistance by 14. Moving on over here, we have 31 into Thick Skin, reducing your damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 43 into Hardy and Elemental Defender, both of these reducing your damage from physical, poison, disease damage by 10%, and then Flame, Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 10%. Moving on over here, we have 23 into Bastion. This is if you want to use a damage shield. The effectiveness of that damage shield is going to be increased by 10%. We also have 16 into Expert Defender. This reduces your damage taken from light and heavy attacks from other players by 10%. And then we have 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 5%. Moving on to the green tree, starting with the first one, we have 43 into Siphoner. When you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you decrease the enemy's health and stamina resource restore, and recovery by 10% for 3 seconds. So you're going to be doing a lot of light and heavy attacks to get this, make sure this stays applied to your enemies, and it will really piss them off. Next one, we have 23 into Warlord. This reduces break free cost by 10%. 16 into Sprinter, reducing sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing bash cost by 10%. And moving on to the middle tree, we have 43 into Mooncalf, increasing stam recovery by 10%. 43 into Arcanus, increasing mag recovery by 14%. And then moving on over here, we have 8 into Befoul. Now this increases the effectiveness of your healing reduction abilities by 5%. We also get 23 into Tumbling, reducing your dodge roll cost by 10%, and 23 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 10%. Moving on to the blue tree, we have 44, that's wrong, 43 into Blast, which increases your healing done by 10%. Elfborn 23, increasing your critical damage and healing done with magic abilities by 10%. 43 into Elemental Expert, increasing your Flame, Frost, Shock, and magic damage done by 10%. Moving on over here, we have 18 into Shattering Blows. This increases your damage against enemies with damage shields by 8%. We have 16 into Physical Weapon Expert, increasing your light and heavy attacks with one-handed, dual-wield, two-handed, every melee weapon you can think of, including bow and werewolf form, by 10%. 40 into Master at Arms, increasing your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. Over here we have 43 into Mighty, increasing your physical, poison, and disease damage by 10%. 23 into Precise Strikes, increasing critical damage and critical healing of stamina abilities by 10%. And 23 into Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 9%. I'm just going to put that extra 1 point in there. And that is the CP, my friends. Now, I would show this in action in PvP, but I don't know if I could actually find any players out here. We will see. I am on the PTS, so it is kind of hard to find people on PTS doing stuff when it comes to this kind of PvP experience. So what we'll do is just go see if we can maybe run across somebody. I doubt it, but it's still worth a try. I should go this way. But yeah, I mean, it's a really fun build to play. If you've ever seen the build in action, it's actually a really cool build. And it's one that I'm actually still debating on if I want to make it for the live servers, because it's just that fun. And when you have a build that's fun to play and not boring and dull, it can make the game a little bit more exciting in the long run. So, did I take the long route again? Oh my gosh, I did, you guys. Noob. Alright. We're gonna go back the other way. But yeah, it's a fun build if you want to play it in Battlegrounds. I don't know how well it works out because I never got a chance to try it in Battlegrounds. I did try it a few times in dueling, because there's always people on that are willing to duel you in the PTS. So I have dueled with it, and it's actually pretty good. And like I said, when I said the thing about pissing people off, I was pissing some dude off because he couldn't recover fast enough with all the resources he wasn't getting because I was taking everything away. So it was actually kind of nice. Now, damage-wise, I will say this, even with it in a PvP setup, damage-wise, this thing can do about 20k DPS on a target skeleton, and a little bit more on a like group dynamic thing, but you're not going to be playing that way. Mostly with this type of build, you're going to be playing PvP. So that's what it's designed for, is to play in player versus player environment, which is Cyrodiil and Battlegrounds. Now, in Battlegrounds, you don't get the CP benefit, so you will not get the extra crit resist. You only get like 1,000 something crit resist while you're in PvP there, unless you want to make all of your gear impenetrable. You can do that. That is an option. So I really doubt there's going to be anything going on out here, because, like I said, not very many people play on the PTS when it comes to this. So, and NPCs in this area are no different than NPCs in any area of the game. So, like, I could go probably take this camp over here, the wood mill, and maybe somebody might show up. I don't know. Like I said, it just depends. I mean, every once in a while, I'll run across people in different areas, so who knows? But it is, like I said, it is a good build. It does do exactly what it's designed to do, which is just dish out as much damage as possible. And it is quite powerful at that. Get my potions ready. I do like using tripods here because of the extra. Really, is it? Oh, it's ours. Never mind. I'm all thinking I have to capture it and everything. So, well, I guess I'll just jump on my horse again and ride off into the wilderness. But yeah, I have ran across other players a few times on Cyrodiil PvP. On the PTS, but it's few and far between, and with it being this late into the PTS cycle, I highly doubt I will run across anyone out here, to be honest. So, but at least you guys can see what it looks like in the Cyrodiil setting. Oops. I died. Too many enemies on me, but it does work. I mean, it's not going to be fantastic or amazing or whatever, but it does work. It does do the job. And yeah, sorry, I'm not a big PvP player myself, so I don't know what to say. I basically did this build based on other people's designs and philosophy, I guess you could say, of PvP. But yeah, but that's your build that you wanted to see for PvP. There you go, the Breton Hero PvP build. And that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in PvE part of the game. Bye.